Donald Trump is fatigued, out of gas, circling the drain. People hate his economic policies. People are starting not to like him much either. Federal courts are firing back against all of his policies. Russia is ignoring his direction and his negotiating tactic to get them back to the table with Ukraine. And what does Donald Trump do when he woke up, or late last night, where we all woke up to this morning on Friday? A rant blaming Joe Biden and threatening to put him in jail. I'm Michael Popok. Let's get to this increasingly unhinged president. Midas Touch does a great job. Ben Mysalis, my partner, does a great job every day. Kind of going over the speeches and press conferences and the like. You always see like Donald Trump sort of like bored, fatigued, sundowning already at 9 o'clock in the morning. Can't wait to figure out where his next tea time is going to be for golf. It's been played golf every weekend since he's been in office. It just seems like his heart is not in it, if you know what I mean. At least his energy level is certainly flagging. He can barely put a sentence together. And now he does he thinks he does his best work by social media posts. This morning, he went after Joe Biden for the beginning of the Ukraine-Russian war in 2014. Joe Biden wasn't president then. October 7th, the attack by Hamas, killing thousands of Israelis. The pullout of Afghanistan, inflation, and the economy, even though Donald Trump inherited a robust economy where inflation was trending considerably down, and inflation has gone down again. And of course, the illegal aliens at the border. People who did this, Donald Trump ranted today, should all be in jail. Well, you know, we tried to get the person responsible for many of our problems and crimes in a jail cell, but that didn't work, as we know. But that person's name was Donald Trump. Let's break it down right now. We got the world uniting against Donald Trump and his foreign policy, especially as it relates to undermining Ukraine, trying to cut its balls out from under it as it negotiates in wartime with its arch enemy adversary, the imperial dictatorship of Putin. And with hundreds of thousands of people lost, Putin is completely ignoring what many have said and claimed that Donald Trump continues to be a Russian asset, continues to ignore his Russian asset, his puppet, and says, no, we're not going to sit down and do a 30-day ceasefire. We're not going to do anything the Trump administration wants, even though Donald Trump already tried to do a live vivisection and autopsy of Zelensky in the White House just a couple of weeks ago in order to embarrass him into accepting a deal. Let's also remember that rift, that disrespect that Donald Trump shows to Zelensky, that goes back a long ways. That goes back to the first administration with that now fateful phone call that led to Donald Trump being impeached, where he tried to dangle in front of the newly elected president Zelensky, tried to take advantage of the fact that he was just a comedian that got elected president, and said, I'm not going to give you the $450 million that Congress appropriated to you unless you play ball with me and set up a special prosecutor against the Biden family. And Zelensky even then said, sorry, I'm not doing that. And that's what led to Vindman, recording many of that aspect of it, the impeachment proceedings and the rest. So that bad blood's been going on for a long time. I'll tell you one thing about popularity. 57% of the American people think that Donald Trump and his economic policies are terrible for America and will cause a recession. Consumer confidence is in the tank. Manufacturer confidence in the tank. We're in a trade war, which in the Canada part of it, that relates to them cutting off the fuel supply for our own economy because we need their electricity, their power, their water, their electric, their gas, and the trade war that's going on there. And so you've got the world galvanized against America. And all Donald Trump can do this morning is focus on these problems, maybe rethink his economic approach, maybe rethink his foreign policy or his approach to Israel or his approach to Ukraine. No, he's back to these old broken records of Joe Biden did it and they should all be in jail. I'm surprised he didn't mention Hillary Clinton. Let me read to you from the actual posting. It goes on for some time here. Let me give you the comments here about and then blames inflation and the border issues on Biden. Here's what he says. Crooked Joe Biden got us into a real mess with Russia and everything else, but I'm going to get us out. but I'm going to get us out. Millions of people are needlessly dead, never to be seen again. Yeah, that's how dead people work. I think he's talking about the Russian attack on Ukraine and on Israel. And there will be many more to follow if we don't get the ceasefire and final agreement with Russia completed and signed. Who's stopping that? Maybe he should get his big fat nose and greasy thumb out of the negotiations. Stop trying to undermine our ally, bolster our ally so he can negotiate from a position of strength, and don't cut the legs out from under him. How about that? Instead of strengthening the hand of Putin geopolitically and otherwise in the negotiations. Does anybody wonder why Putin was like, F you, Trump? I'm not going to stand down for 30 days. You gave me the advantage and I'm not going to give it back. But Trump continues. There would have been no war if I were president. That's a bold-faced lie. It's a bold-faced lie. Putin doesn't move based on who's president of the United States. He moves based on his own imperial power and his own belief of when the timing is right to try to reassemble the Soviet Union. Trump continues in his digression and in his distraction from his own problems in his administration, with over 100 lawsuits and 50 injunctions and 4 cases before the United States Supreme Court and the American economy trending down. He says, likewise, there would be no October 7th with Israel. That's totally not true. Hamas spent 10 to 15 years planning the October 7th attack. And they attacked when they caught Israel with its pants down, having nothing to do with Donald Trump. America supported Israel, sure, no boots on the ground. The pullout from Afghanistan would have been done with strength and pride. It would not have been the most embarrassing day in the history of our country. I don't think that was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country. One day in particular comes to mind. What is it again? Right, Jan 6th. It could have been a moment of glory. Like, we're pulling out of Afghanistan of people that didn't want to stand up and fight for themselves. We gave them, Joe Biden did the thing that all the other presidents promised. It got put on his doorstep. Was it a little bit sloppy on the way out? Yeah, but that's the military's problem. That's not, Joe Biden's not flying those planes. He had a plan that was delivered to him by his generals. Biden probably should have fired all the generals for how the pull out of Afghanistan went, but we got out. Also, there would not be any perceptible inflation. All right, let me remind people and Donald Trump. The economy, such as it was, delivered to Joe Biden coming out of COVID, that was killed by Donald Trump, had no heartbeat, had no brainwaves. Boo, it was dead. And if it wasn't for the $3 trillion that the Democrats and Joe Biden pumped into the economy and the stimulus package to restart the heart of the American economy, we'd still be suffering. The inflation is because of that amount of money in currency that went through our American economy, the higher wages and spending that resulted. But over the next 4 years of the Biden administration, after it restarted the heart of the economy from a moribund, dead economy delivered by Donald Trump, where the GDP contracted and job creation was non-existent. Job creation leads to higher wages, consumerism, inflation. It started to trend considerably down. Look, egg prices are up 56% in a year. And some of that is on Trump. But he continues. Also, we would have had an impenetrable border, right? 70 years of dealing with the border on the southern border at Mexico, including through a Republican and Democratic administrations and a Trump administration. And he would solve it overnight. Make a list of all the things that Donald Trump would solve overnight. And let me know in comments how many he's actually solved with the snap of his finger. None. Oh, what a difference a rigged, crooked election had on our country. And the people who did this should go to jail. God bless America. Make America great again. This is the rantings of an unhinged man as a hatter executive officer. Or as I've said time and time again, there's no executive function in the executive branch. Nothing's going on up there. A lot of people write me in my comments, 25th Amendment time. You need the majority of the cabinet to do that. The people can't invoke the 25th Amendment. It takes the majority of this cabinet. Have you seen anything that resembles a backbone or a spine in the cabinet that Donald Trump picked? Where is it? List in comments for me one person, maybe the labor secretary, one person that would stand up to Donald Trump at this moment. None. So how are you going to get a majority? If you can't get a majority, like I'm all about I'm all about, effective policy making and grassroots movements, but I'm not into magical thinking. Look, you want to go protest? There's a protest going on today in Washington. You want to go protest? And on this day, I don't know. They thought it was cute because they want to protest about the 14th Amendment, Section 3, and this is 314. Okay. I think it's also National Pi Day. Pi, the mathematical number. Protest. I'm not against protest. People are like, talk about the protest in Washington. The problem is we've got a Supreme Court who's already made a decision that we all disagree with about the Colorado insurrection provision, or the 14th Amendment insurrection provision coming out of Colorado in the ballot case. And based on any reasonable interpretation of that decision, the Supreme Court majority, the 5, are going to require Congress to do something about removing somebody like the President of the United States and taking such action. Does anybody think that right now, that there is a will of the MAGA Congress to do that? No. You can put pressure on them. You can point to things, but just because I don't believe that it's worth the time to try to, there's only limited time in the day, to focus on that as an organizing principle of a movement, that's my judgment. That's my decision. Nobody tells me what to say or what to do. We didn't get together over here and go, well, let's not support the 14th Amendment, Section 3. We understand it. I can read it. I went to law school. Unlike some people that are out there protesting. I know, I'm a reasonable constitutional scholar in my own right. That's my opinion. That's my point of view. You don't like my point of view? Have your own YouTube channel. You can have your own point of view. But I digress. I suddenly became like the President of the United States there for a minute. In any event, Donald Trump's rantings and ravings to try to distract from the fact that we are watching spectacularly probably one of the quickest failures of a presidency since Herbert Hoover. No other way to put it. And it's only going to get worse. Now, you want to get out of magical thinking. Give me, at the midterms, the House and the Senate, and I'll give you an impeachment and a conviction, and we'll run Donald Trump and the rest of them out on a rail. That I'm in favor of. But that's voting, that's organizing, that's get out the vote, that's voter registration. That's where I want to put my money, mind, and attention. Yeah. And we'll focus on it here. Meet me here for hourly meetings on the Legal AF YouTube channel. Until my next report, I'm Michael Popak. I'm Michael Popak, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of Midas Touch's Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popak Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popak Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popak Firm today at 1-877-POPAK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopakfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popak Firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way.